Okay. All right. Three, two, one.
Welcome back. This is the Daily Thunder podcast, and we are live for the first time on YouTube and on Twitter. Follow at Daily Thunder for all of the action, and you can jump in and ask questions, leave your comments, maybe some excitement for a loss if you're into that, maybe some tears for a loss if you're into that. I am with Cray Allred, editor in chief of Daily Thunder, for the first time this year. Welcome to the show, Cray.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. I am a little bit tired from that
It's
one. Not as
it's
tired as
late.
you. I got an hour. It's an hour earlier here than where you're at. But
I am on the East Coast. It is 107 as we speak. It's early. It's early in the morning. That was quite the game. Oklahoma City takes the Lakers to overtime for the second straight game on the road and drop another one, 114 to 113. Just instant reaction to everything we saw tonight. Oklahoma City's playing with 8 players. No Roby tonight, no SGA, no Maladone, and no George Hill. And they set a season high for assists without any point guards.
so my first reaction is just rage at LeBron, because when he just wants to win the game, he'll just kind of toy with the Thunder and then drag it into overtime and then just hit all these key clutch plays. Not that he was perfect down the stretch, but it was just a little annoying. If we're gonna lose, get it over with earlier. Um,
Yeah,
and because of that, a game like this, I kind of fight the impulse to think, do we learn anything when the Lakers are clearly just not in high gear? Right? They're without Anthony Davis. They were not getting a full throttle effort from LeBron. Um, Lots of hustle points, lots of backdoor scoring from the Thunder, from
yeah.
Lakers whose head were definitely not on a swivel. But you mentioned the assists. It continues. I mean, that's, if nothing, even if it's not a validation of Hamidou Diallo, you know, playmaker, ball handler for real, or any of the other players that are inhabiting that role without any of the Thunder's real point guards. If nothing else, it's a validation of Coach Mark Dagnall, right? At least being able to scheme with a very talent challenged and a few bodies short, able to come up with actual scoring, right? That actually works against a real NBA team. So um, that's what I gleaned from the offense. I had some other thoughts, uh, bigger picture, but as far as the short term of this game, I think kudos to the young hustling Thunder, the young hustling Thunder coaching staff. Um, you know, it's nice to see sparks, even if it felt inevitable the whole time that the Lakers would eventually actually take them seriously and uh, beat them. But
Yeah. Yeah, Oklahoma City led 67-57 at the half, and just for them to score 67 points in the first half against this team, they were getting, like you're saying, so many easy looks at the basket from a very just lazy Laker defense in the first half. They looked like they were sleepwalking, much like they looked on Monday night as well. You can tell when this Laker team is very interesting. This was their third straight overtime game, and they've won all three. And it looked like they tried for about 15 minutes combined in those 3 games. Like, they are a very good team, and they're a team that, like you're saying, having LeBron means they can kind of flip that switch. And when he decides it's time to win, that's really all it takes against a team that is so shorthanded like Oklahoma City tonight. So, um, but yeah, like you're saying, Coach Dagnall is getting such a great effort every single night from whoever is playing, and it's encouraging to see. Kenrich Williams finished with 24 points, 6 rebounds. Al Horford had an amazing night, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, and a block. 17 from Dort, 15 and 13 from Diallo. Paisley had a rough night with just 9 and 7, but still a really, really encouraging effort from a team only playing 8 guys.
Yeah, really encouraging. And I honestly, so uh, not to rush too far ahead, but Baisley's tough night.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to prove himself as a shooter, like a lethal shooter in his second year in the league necessarily, right? He's got a very diversified skill set, clear role with the team. But I'm starting to think about the Thunder's front court of the future,
Mm-hmm.
and as all of a sudden Kendrick Williams looks like a good player, Isaiah Roby looks like a modern player. I'm not saying any of these are necessarily even starter level, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a nice problem to have to start thinking about. Is there some crowding in the front court that's going to happen? Because I think one thing that is pretty clear to me that I was not so sure about, and the naysayers were right about Baisley coming into the season, is I would be pretty surprised at this point if he's going to hold up as a five. You know, we we saw how difficult that was from when he had to play against Anthony Davis. Even a player like Montrezl Harrell, just by brute strength, was just manhandling Baisley, especially down the stretch. And
Yeah.
same for Mike Muscala. It wasn't just by way of Baisley, but the Thunder front court has held up really well on the perimeter. The Thunder's defense as a whole has held up. They've been, one-on-one assignments and especially kind of instinctual help defense, including from Baisley, Poku when he was still with the big league team.
Mm-hmm.
So they have no rim protection, but they still hold up on defense. So it's like, where is the? Are we going to somehow, in the most ironical or ironical? It's late.
Brand new.
Ironic. The most ironic, Thunder turn. Are we going to find ourselves clamoring in one of these upcoming drafts for like a traditional big?
Gosh, I hope not.
Because we've got so many, 6'8" guys that are undersized fours that are constantly getting brutalized in the paint. Like, are we going to be like, draft a big who protects the rim and just rolls to the basket every play?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the dark future I have in my head.
That is dark. That is dark. That's really dark, Craig. I got to be honest. Brandon and I have been talking about that as well. Like, I hope big picture, long term, for the way they construct this new version of this team. I hope that the five position is. I hope they spend it on guys like Nerlens Noel, like that level, that expensive of a player, like somebody. And I think Nerlens is underpaid, but somebody that you can get on that type of contract and save that money, because as Thunder fans, we've lived with the reality of paying Kendrick Perkins a lot of money and then paying Steven Adams, $25 million a year. That is, I hope they reallocate a lot of that money to those wing positions. But it makes me nervous that if they get their chance to, they would draft Evan Mobley over someone like Kuminga or Green or Suggs or somebody like that. So for the sake of having a what we would consider a crowded front court.
Right. And, when you talk future, you don't know what the league will look like in the future,
Yeah.
The idea that Anthony Davis would be starting alongside Mark Gasol or JaVale McGee and punishing the whole league would have felt really weird a few years ago.
No question.
And a few years from now, it's not like we have to see a 7 foot plus behemoth in the Thunder paint to have success whenever they want to contend again. So you're
Yeah.
right, and of course, when the Warriors were the fun pre KD Warriors, and with KD too, they had. It's not like they needed conventional big man, or even if they did, it wasn't even near the Nerlens Noel level. It's Zaza Pachulia dribbling the ball off his foot. So
Yeah, 100%.
so yeah.
100%. They drafted Looney. The Warriors drafted Looney late in the first round one year. So yeah, it's something that can be addressed in other ways, especially if you've got other positions locked up. And so I do hope they go guard heavy looking forward. Speaking of the draft, that tonight's loss takes Oklahoma City's standing to sixth. They would be drafting sixth. Well, their lottery position is sixth right now. Only 5 teams with worse records right now. It's encouraging that Oklahoma City is getting into that range that we thought they would be in and thought they were going to need to be in to really capitalize on this season. So yeah, they've had some wins that we didn't expect. Both of these games are huge. Like when it comes to the draft pick, they just are. If they were to have, if they would have won both of these games and they were both very winnable, man, that would have been really, really interesting when it comes to a faux tanking season. Where have you been at with the tank? Or are you looking for this team to win games, or are you wanting them to just tank for that pick? We haven't talked about this yet.
So I feel like I'm in a different place than most people, where there's team tank and team compete. I think I understand the emotions of team compete. I'm when I watch the games, I'm not rooting for them to lose. Really, I'm not really disappointed when they do lose, but in the moment, I'm not like miss a shot.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I'm almost kind of like the reason I believe in. I wouldn't say I believe in taking. The reason I believe in a full rebuild process done right, which involves some losing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some significant losing, is because I appreciate vision, and I don't like Walter White would say no half measures.
Yes.
so
Yes.
so I'm at a place where it's like I don't so much blame fans. I think fans are going to be disappointed if they think Sam Presti's going to cough up any assets to make the current Thunder better. Right? He's not.
Absolutely.
He didn't last year. As much as everyone rode that high, and I was one of them, he didn't improve the team. He was not buying at all. And he's not going to buy at this juncture. So that's not going to happen. But I do feel the antsiness of like, well, shoot. They're in so many of these games. There's the play-in tournament, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird season where they could scrap into a lot more kind of fluky, weird wins than they would in a normal season. So I'm almost like, all right, if we're really going to get this tank on, I'd be okay with some fire sales. like I think you and Brandon talked about recently that, Kiss could buy the idea that Sam Presti would attach a draft pick to get rid of Al Horford, but
Yes.
If the gambit is, attach a late first round pick to move off of Horford or maximize his value at the cost of not getting better odds at Cade Cunningham, like to me, that it's like I don't know, that there's a value in and of itself of moving off of those veteran players. Same thing with George Hill, who's kind of naturally come out of the equation recently. But
yeah, you're exactly right. The cost of just a couple wins could be massive when it comes to the lottery. And I think Horford does Presti a favor every night he comes out and does what he did tonight. 25 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists with two steals and a block. Like, these are 4 steals and a block. These are games where he's hitting 11 out of 18 shots. Like, these are the games that appeal to contenders that need shooting and playmaking at that position. He's a solid defender still. Like he's really held up. I don't see any deterioration out of Al Horford. He is not on a winning team, but that does not mean he is still not a winning player. And for contenders to see that on a night like tonight against a Laker team, watching him out there with, guys that are obviously struggling. They're having to put forth so much effort just to hang in this game. Horford's being out there being a leader and somebody to rely on. Down the stretch, they went to him and they were able to, manufacture offense. Those are the types of nights that the team should be, the GM should be looking at, and hopefully picking up the phone, because Al Horford is an asset in this league for a team that's looking to compete. And I think there's a specific team in the East, the Boston Celtics, that I really hope come calling here soon.
He's freaking awesome. I mean, it's amazing. He's this year's Chris Paul. He's the Chris Paul of the front court of rehabilitating his value and having that old man game, despite being a little slower, a little longer in the tooth in a million ways, but he still is holding up and making all the right veteran savvy plays and leading the Thunder mentally. Like it's crazy. I mean, he's not the level of player as Chris Paul, but he's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and you're talking about. People think the tank talk is silly when it's like it could be one game. It's like, well, we're just gonna flip a coin at the end anyway, the lottery. But it's like, no, this actually happened with Mike Muscala last year. Like,
yes,
Mike Muscala hit a shot in a game that the Thunder players wanted to win, and the coaching staff wanted to win, and the front office was probably neutral about winning.
Neutral is very kind. Neutral is kind.
But imagine if that is this year. And it's Al Horford hitting a buzzer beater or dominating in a end of the game season against a playoff team that is resting for the first round of the playoffs, right? And they fall out of the top 3 for the lottery. Like that is significant.
Yes.
And it could, so that's where I'm like, is trying to get an extra second round pick or hanging on to a late first rounder so that you don't part with Al Horford before his value is maximized. Is that really worth it if it could cost you, the first round pick of the draft with a generational talents? But so I'm just feeling antsy.
I would imagine that. I would hope that once we get there, if that's the scenario that we're under, I would hope that Oklahoma City, puts out a release maybe an hour and a half before the game. Hey, Horford, sore ankle tonight. Probably going to sit him because. I mean, what?
Well, Muscala better be gone too by then, because then he'll hit the 100%. Game winner.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm hoping that by the end of the season, the last 4 weeks of the season look a lot like tonight, where they're playing with limited players, a lot of games without Shea, where we just sit him. Maybe there's a sore knee like tonight that we need to be very precautionary about. Like I think they're going to play the long game like you're saying, and when we get to the end of the season, I think that's where we'll be. But coming back to tonight, I'm really impressed with the effort. 42 minutes for Baisley, 41 for Dort, 40 for Kenrich Williams, 37 for Diallo. Like these guys are playing huge minutes for the second game in a row. And they were going to play huge minutes whether the game went to overtime or not. They were going to play big minutes because this team is so shorthanded. And I'm just impressed with the effort they're out there giving in the first half. They're obviously just so worn down by the end of the game, but they're still hustling. Dort found another gear late in that fourth quarter, getting it to overtime. Just very impressed, and it continues to speak to this coaching staff. They seem to be very on the same page and preaching the right things. I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's one thing to have fresh legs because you're a young team. It's another thing to have it on the road when you actually only have 8 players playing.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
And when so much of the advantage is, for them being in the game is running, pushing the pace because they don't have a half-court floor general to rely on every trip down the court. Like, yeah, that Dort that was really encouraging. You know, he's been in a little bit of a slump, and it continued tonight.
It
But
did. Oh, five.
him continuing to attack the paint all the way to the finish, and even draw that and one. Was nice to see him, you know, stay confident, stay aggressive, because that's the kind of player he needs to be.
Absolutely. It was a monster. It was a monster and one down the stretch. Um, Want to go to Muscala the bench tonight. Very shorthanded. Muscala, Jackson, Miller. Um, I feel like Darius Miller and Justin Jackson have picked an interesting time to start hitting shots and looking like productive players. Oklahoma City shot the ball so well in that first half, first quarter especially. They were up by 20 in the first half. Just never would have imagined that this team could get to 113 with the roster they had tonight. Like, just I'm very encouraged by how hard this team plays. If you are someone who is wanting this team to compete, they are competing. They are doing everything they can to win these games. As someone who is hoping that they drop games like they played tonight, I can assure you they are competing and they are trying to win this game. It's impressive night in, night out the way that they get after it. I'm very encouraged with Kenrich Williams. There was Justin and I talked about it on Monday night. There was a lot of, I guess, surprise at the waiving of Frank Jackson before the season with how well he played in preseason, and a lot of it was like, why are we waiving him in favor of a guy like Kenrich Williams? And he's out there balling. Like, this is a really, really awesome opportunity for him. And another guy that if it comes time to deal a guy like George Hill, is that team also interested in a wing that can shoot and score like Williams?
Yeah, so I think it was a mistake to feel precious about any of the summer uh, roster guys that had to get cut or were in jeopardy of being cut, and I think it'd be a mistake to be precious about them now, unless you know their initials are SGA.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't know why. Just because by virtue of a player like that being young, why Presti wouldn't be open to extracting value from them now. So, yeah, I mean, Williams looks like a player. He looks like not just like I wrote the recap tonight. You know, his reputation is kind of, you know, Kenny Hustle, garbage man, finding the extra points off the bench. But he's got some craft and he can shoot. It's not, you know, he's not just finding points that are left on the ground for him to pick up. He's actually
Absolutely.
looks like a real player. So, yeah, I mean, typically the kind of buyout trade market for contenders is people on the verge of being washed up. 3-and-D
Yeah.
players that you know at least they might, you know, they're gonna, you know, have a 30+% chance of hitting a three and not completely blowing a team defensive assignment in the playoffs. You know, but I would not be shocked if a player like Williams would you know, actually draw interest from a team that maybe doesn't want another old guy
Yeah.
thrown into the mix.
And it's interesting. There was some reporting this week about the trade deadline that there's not going to be very many sellers. There's going to be a lot of buyers, and that's setting up really, really well for Oklahoma City because they're a team obviously that could look to sell, and if they're one of the only teams that is selling, that means they're going to be able to not only move these guys but maybe get more value than they would in a different market, because this market is going to set up for them to like we've seen Presti do in the past, use competing offers to drive up the price. And for a guy like Horford and Hill, and really, like you're saying, any of these guys aside from, you know, Dort and SGA and Baisley, that let me ask you this: why wouldn't a team like Brooklyn offer up something nice for Dort? I've been very, very interested to see what Dort's value would be right now, because he's not just a defender. Like, that has become very clear. This kid has serious offensive skill. even when like on a night where he didn't hit a single three, scored in I believe the high teens, and he's shown the ability to put the ball on the floor, not only to score but to pass, and he is a first team all defender. Um, I would be very curious what the price would be to get Dort right now, and if Oklahoma City would be interested in moving him.
It's very hard to imagine what the because he has like the dirt cheapest contract in the league. For like an actual rotation player, he's got the cheapest contract, I would say, uh, and the skill set that I mean, that was one of my crazy predictions was that they would trade Dort because if a team wants is going to match up against James Harden, is there a better player they would want? I literally don't think there is. Not that there aren't better one-on-one players that are more proven or whatever, but I
Yeah,
mean we've seen Dort match up and drive Harden crazy in the playoffs. So if you're gonna, well, one, if you're Brooklyn and you don't want him
yeah,
matching up against Harden,
yeah.
or if you know you're gonna line up against him, and I honestly think Dort that could be kind of a harbinger for the Thunder rebuild. So we're I think most of us are leaning towards well SGA is really good. He's better than we thought. This thing could be warp speed rebuild, right? They get
Hmm.
get the right draft pick this year and or next year, and we're off and running. Um, Sam Presti might not feel that way about the next couple draft picks or the Dorts and Baisleys of the team, or even the Diallos now is in that conversation. And
Hmm.
I'm not. That Dort prediction was kind of a wild, crazy thing, but if he trades one of the core-ish looking young pieces, that's a signal that like this might be a little bit longer of a haul.
Yeah, yeah.
And he
It's a
does, even if that doesn't include SGA. I mean, you hate to say this about a young awesome player's career, but they've got time, right?
yep.
And his prime is he's not entering it within the next year or two at earliest. So uh, yeah, I would be surprised if a player like that went, but like I said, I would appreciate the vision and commitment and
Yes.
being willing to really anger a lot of fans for the good of the team. Uh, I think fans would feel like, and it's kind of like the Jeremy Grant trade, right? Like they could have held on to Jeremy Grant after the Paul George trade. We knew it was probably coming to an end, but once they traded Grant, there was like no benefit to it other than we're rebuilding, right?
Hmm.
And everything was clear at that point. If they moved a player like Dort or Baisley now, it'd be like, oh, it's not even for like the current rebuild. We're
Yes.
like rebuilding on top of rebuild. So,
Yes. It would be
uh,
a serious like shock to the system, I think, for the fan base to see one of those guys get traded because right now we have programmed that these guys are a part of Oklahoma City's quote unquote rebuild. We have told ourselves that no matter what the play looks like. So now that he's improving, I would be very curious to see what Presti could potentially get in a seller's market for a guy who has the most coveted skills in the league, especially when his 3 pointer is hitting. So anyway, Oklahoma
we do have a
City.
couple of questions
Oh
came
yeah,
in on
yeah.
the live stream. If you
Let's get
want,
him. Let's get him.
well, one just hello to all of our listeners. Thanks for joining us as we are rookies at this, and appreciate your patience. Well, I failed to get it up and off the ground from a couple false starts. So hi to all of you. A Steelers fan asks why the timeout didn't advance the ball past half court. I don't know if I remember what possession that would have been
I think
at the
he's
very
referring
last
to,
one.
yeah, the very last one.
It was half court, and they
Yeah, it
threw it into the
was.
back court.
Yeah, it was around half court. It was on Oklahoma City's side of half court, but just barely,
Okay.
and the ball was thrown into the back court. Oklahoma City, if I understand it correctly, they get to choose where that ball is taken out, and I I believe that's where they chose to have it taken out. Um, I could be wrong. If I remember correctly, the play before that to get it to that point was the LeBron shot that didn't go in.
Horford
I
grabbed the
bel
rebound,
Yeah,
I believe.
I think Baisley grabbed it and I think put the ball on the floor, so that may have negated their ability to advance it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I was thinking of different. Too many possessions on these stupid close
God, there's
overtime
a lot
games
of them.
where
There's a lot
you
of them.
keep, especially when you're trying to write the recap and like find the actual end of the game. But
You get
uh,
crunch time twice.
and then we got one from Arda Bulak. I apologize if that's mispronounced, but Team Tank here feels crazy rooting for the Wolves, Pistons, and Wizards to win games. Which one do you think has the greatest chance to get hot this season and pass the Thunder?
Read those teams to me one more time.
Wolves, Pistons, and Wizards.
Uh, just straight away, I would say the Wizards and Timberwolves. Timberwolves getting Karl Anthony Towns back tonight, and they put up a decent fight against the Clippers at home tonight. I think the Timberwolves potentially because they're going to get Towns back for they would hope an extended amount of time and not have to deal with any more injuries. But their pick goes to Golden State if it's outside the top three. So they have incentive to remain at the bottom, but we'll see if they have a talented roster. Anthony Edwards looks like he's a pretty solid player. They obviously have D'Angelo Russell, Rubio, Nas Reed has been really good for them, and then talent getting Towns back. I think they have enough to start winning a few games, especially if Oklahoma City can remain down at the bottom. I think that Minnesota is gonna pass them, and as well as the Wizards. The Wizards just have a couple. Beal's a phenomenal player leading the league in scoring, so I would look for those two teams. I think the Pistons are doing it right when it comes to tanking. Like they're loaded with front court players and they're pretty rough in the backcourt. They just traded away Derrick Rose, so I would look for Detroit to stay down towards the bottom, but maybe Oklahoma City can get below Minnesota and or Washington.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the last I checked, the based on net rating, the Thunder have actually been worse statistically than Detroit and Washington.
Yes.
Minnesota's been worse, but they've lacked Cat for a lot of that time. So uh, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them were worse here on out. But
That's an interesting question as well because those are the three teams right now, three of the four teams that are ahead of Oklahoma City, and they're most of their. I mean, I was Washington. I live in the DC area, so I get to see a lot of the Wizards, and they're a competitive team. They score a ton of points, especially when both Beal and Westbrook play. So I could see them picking off quite a few more wins before all is said and done. And in Minnesota, those are going to be really interesting games to watch. Detroit took the Lakers to overtime just a couple of games ago, and they almost pulled it out. So I'm with this the person that asked this question. I'm with them. I'm very closely watching those three teams.
yeah, and they all have reason to try to at least make a play-in game more than the Thunder, at least from their front office
Right.
perspective, I would say.
Right. Detroit and Washington have a great chance because the bottom of the East is a little more packed together. I think we're going to see a little more separation in the West.
And that's the end of our questions, at least the one that I've seen.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for both of those. Um, so Oklahoma City goes to Denver. We'll see who is available and who isn't. That should be coming to us here in the next day or two. That may go all the way up to game time before we know exactly who is available for the Thunder. They will be another variable in that game will be the altitude, especially with a shorthanded team. So we'll see what they look like, especially late in that game. Denver, I believe, is off tomorrow night, so both teams will have tomorrow off. That game is 8 o'clock Central, so we'll be watching for that one, and that means around 10:30, barring overtime, we'll be back on here live on Twitter and on YouTube at Daily Thunder, and we will be reacting to that one as well.
I don't. I hope all of our Thunder fans have sweet, sweet thoughts dancing in their heads
Yeah,
on a short night's sleep, including you, Ryan.
absolutely, absolutely. Thunder fans, thanks so much. Hope everybody has a great day tomorrow, and we will be back on Friday.